Hi, this is Maria Mandarino, and I'm here today with Julie Jacobs at Windhorse Counseling here in Chandler, Arizona. We are starting our new series going forward. It's going to be 9 episodes on the Enneagram and parenting. So first, I'm going to let Julie introduce herself if you haven't seen Julie on one of our previous episodes. Julie, tell us about
Thank you.
yourself.
Hi, my name is Julie. I am a therapist here in Chandler, Arizona. I have been therapisting and therapizing my clients for a long time now. I've spent a lot of time working with young people, meaning children, and adolescents, adults, people of all ages. Um, so have some insight as to what your kids might be thinking, maybe that might be helpful. And worked in a school as well, so it's some experience that way. And I just love working with people. I love what I do. I am not anywhere near as knowledgeable in the Enneagram as you are, but I'm learning and I'm fascinated and I believe in it. And I think this
Mm,
is going to be really great.
Okay,
I'm
cool,
excited.
cool. All right. So Julie and I began kicking this idea around with the Enneagram and parenting, partly because as an acupuncturist, one of the things that I work with are women that are trying to get pregnant, fertility acupuncture. Um, so I work with them in that pre-parenting stage where the biggest stressor is trying to get pregnant, trying to conceive and get pregnant. Um, And I think because that stress is so great, um, women, and I say women because again, that's predominantly the population that I work with, right? So I'm not excluding the men in this equation, but women in that fertility stage come in and I think they think if I can just get to the pregnancy part, it's all gold after that, right? Because it's just fertility is just can be such a stressful thing. So that got me thinking about how the Enneagram can help women in that stage, um, families actually in that stage. And then I started to kick this around with Julie, who works with a much more diverse population, sees things on the other side. And sometimes they do get to see things on the other side, but usually when I get to see those things, the kids are well grown. A lot of times they're out of the house. And it comes down to what Julie's going to talk about a little more too, is that now there's a relationship issue because a child has been raised or nearly raised, nearly out, right? And you got two people. So parenting, newsflash, doesn't come with an instruction manual, right? So
Mhm.
so the closest thing that I think people can have to that is knowing their Enneagram type. So mom and dad together really would benefit, families would benefit, children would benefit from simply, the best instruction manual you can have is just knowing who you are, and your Enneagram is your map to knowing who you are. So, so I want to get into, we're going to kick around the whole relationship piece of what this means when two people are parenting and what that struggle can look like when they don't know their Enneagram types. Um, And please remember the Enneagram is only there to help you change you, not to help you change your partner that you're parenting with. That's like, super important. Don't use the
Same with
Enneagram that way.
therapy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, yes. Um, so so again, parenting doesn't come with a manual. Knowing your Enneagram type is a pretty good replacement for a manual for parenting. What type you are, knowing what presses your buttons within your type and knowing what empowers you within your type as a parent in those challenging moments. Where do I move? Where do I step within my Enneagram? So today we're going to take a special look at Enneagram type 2, which is called the helper or the giver. Um, and we're going to kind of weave these ideas that I just mentioned in and out of type 2. So in their higher expression, type 2s are giving in nature, they're helpful, they're generous, they're kind, they're caring. And we all love a good, healthy two in our lives. They're just, they're good caregivers, they're good nurturers. They're almost, it's almost tempting to say they're natural parents, right? Um, so when we
And they're a
make,
good, healthy too.
yes, yeah. So when we say something like that, the other side of that, you got to go to the shadow, okay? So and parenting is stressful, right? I don't care what stage you're at. If you're parenting an infant, if you're, parenting a 7 or 8 year old, teenager, tween, high school, and anywhere in between that, right? Stress points, right? So the stress point of the two is the 8. I just kind of want to put this out there now. Stress point of the 2 is the 8. Um, stress point of security type of the 2 is the 4. Okay. So, and it would be in stress, it would be the low 8, which is going to look like a destroyer type energy. And it's going to look like rage, blowing up, big, scary rage, explosive, coming from this kind, loving, caring, giving, generous person. And it's going to be like left field when the 2 has that last button pressed and they just go. And now you have a child who is learning about life, learning about people, learning about relationships. And mom or dad just went from
Mhm.
nowhere. Loving, generous, kind, giving mom or dad, right? So that's the other side of it. And then there's the stuff in between, because all this is a spectrum, right? So Julie, what did you want to jump in there with? I saw you.
Yeah. So going from kind, loving, natural parent, being real good at all that, to the big,
Mhm,
explosive, scary rage,
mhm.
that keeps your kid off balance all the
Yeah,
time, right? And
yeah,
never feeling safe because you're unpredictable.
yeah,
And I don't know what's going to set you off.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
communication, right, is always a piece, but
yeah,
especially here, like, because if you're letting all those resentments and anger and frustration build and build and build, it's going to be ugly.
yeah, yeah. And in the two's case, it's that resentment comes from I've anticipated your every need. I've anticipated my partner's every need. I have done all the things, and I've done things before you even asked me to do them, and they were things that you needed done, and you never did that for me.
Mhm.
I'm tired. Has anybody anticipated that I might be tired, right? So the other side, and all like it's almost a natural thing to expect. Like if you're over giving, if you're over
Yes.
anticipating in an unhealthy too, right? You're going to get resentful. So the key is let's not become an unhealthy two, or when you're becoming
Hmm.
one, which is more realistic, right? Recognize it.
Hmm.
And I think what you said, I think you used the word communication. Um, Own it, share it, say, I feel a little tapped out right now. My boundaries probably haven't been really good.
Hmm.
And I need to take care of myself right now. And taking care of myself right now might mean that you're going to have to do the laundry today, or you're going to have to go get the groceries or cook dinner today, whether this
Hmm.
is the parent, whether depending on developmentally where the child is. And if we're dealing with an infant, okay, obviously you're not going to going to be able to communicate that to the child, but communicate it to a partner or to someone who's helping you parent, whether it's co-parenting or extended family or just doing the hardest thing for two, the helper, ask for help.
Ask for help.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So and that self-awareness can prevent you just anything that you encounter in a day as a parent. I mean, there's so many opportunities for stress, right? And equal opportunities to lean into your higher self.
So I had a thought.
Uh-huh.
Hardest thing for a two to do is ask for help.
Yeah.
Um, don't wait until you're a parent to start asking for help,
Yeah.
right? And if your partner is someone who's never asking for help, you would be wise to encourage them to do that and find,
Mhm.
whether it's words, whether it's a signal, whether you leave a note on the counter,
Mhm.
like start that particular part right before you
Mhm.
have a kid,
Yeah.
because your whole world goes upside down.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
asking you to learn how to ask for help when you're close to your eight already,
Yeah.
that's too
Yeah. You
late.
can't do it because the resentment's just
Mm-hmm.
percolating already. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I wonder, tell me what you would do with this. If having the equivalent of a written schedule, um, to prevent the overwhelm and that can lead to I'm doing all the things.
Yes.
You think that would?
I think it's helpful for a lot of people and a lot of personality types. And one of
Yeah.
the reasons is you can make that schedule or that list, whatever works for you,
Yeah.
right? When you're clear headed.
Yeah.
And then when you're overtired, when you're stressed, when you're
Mhm.
resentful, go follow the list.
Yeah. You got to
Don't
document.
think
Yeah.
about it. You don't have to, you
Yeah.
can, and it's weird for a counselor to say, you could get out of your feelings and just do the list for now, right?
Yeah.
So you don't
Yeah.
become unpredictable and
Yeah.
explosive.
Yeah. Or go to the list and tell the partner, we need to work on, you got to take some of this because I'm
Yep,
like, I can't.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah.
And the list needs to include self-care, whatever
Absolutely.
that is,
Everybody's,
right?
yeah, everybody's list
Mhm,
needs that. Yeah, twos at the most have to recognize that self-care is not selfish. Self-care is
mhm,
nothing to feel guilty about. Twos can be so prone to feeling guilty for not being, you know, for not filling in everybody's last need.
mhm.
It's not your job, and I think I said this in a previous episode, you're not ice cream, you can't make everybody happy. So yeah, twos really can get caught up in that. So the
Mhm.
self-care has to come into that for them. Boundaries, daily awareness, sometimes I would say as a parent, hourly awareness of boundaries. I think most twos would say they're probably born to parent,
Mhm.
um, which could be, a really beautiful thing. Um, and
Except when you're parenting and it's harder than you thought,
yeah, yeah,
or
hmm
you can't do all the things that you thought you would be able to schedule.
yeah, yeah. Or the world changes on a dime as it did in 2020, and now,
Mm.
kids are home and and you're working from home and yeah, and not all of that has cleared out. A lot of people still are working from home and trying to juggle things. So yeah, being prepared for that possibility that just the world can
Mm.
change, and then your experience around parenting has to adapt with that. And where is your skill set around that? Um, how how can you pull from the Enneagram to work through that kind of stuff?
Mhm.
And good counseling with that as well. I
How
think
flexible are twos?
if they're already leaning into that eight, not very.
Mhm.
Um, hmm, an unhealthy two, I would say, is not flexible, but they're going to look like they're flexible because they're making it
Mhm.
all about you. So
Mhm.
because they're not focused on themselves, they don't look inflexible, right?
Right.
But I would say they are inflexible about their compulsion
Mhm.
to do all the things for the people around them with the expectation that it will come back. And this is in the lower expression. There's a little bit of a manipulative vibration to that,
Mhm.
kind of a quid pro quo. I say it's like a sticky quality of, you know, I'll do all the things for you, but something's gonna, there's gonna be
Mhm.
an unspoken
But I
amount.
have a scorecard,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right? I have a
totally.
tally sheet,
Hmm.
and when I
Yeah,
get to my explosive point, I'm going to point out how I've done
done all these things. Hmm.
all these things for
No one
you,
ever
and
appreciates it. Hmm.
nope,
Yeah,
and no
I'm
one's ever done
exhausted.
anything for me.
Hmm. Yeah,
And then,
yeah.
justifies and validates their
Hmm.
hurt
Yeah,
feelings,
yeah,
but
yeah.
no one's a mind reader, and you never ask for help.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And if you do that to
And
your kid,
so damaging.
uh,
So damaging.
very cruel.
And you have to, we all have to remember, no matter what type we're talking about, your child's Enneagram is forming from their arrival on the planet till their early 20s. Um, so you are shaping that. And I have other beliefs around that astrologically. I think we come in here with a different blueprint, of the snapshot of where everything is in the sky when we come in. But then our Enneagram helps that get met. And I think that happens no matter what.
Hmm.
But it can happen in a higher vibration way, or it can happen in a lower vibration way. And I think our parents determine so much of that the younger we are,
Hmm.
because they're our world, and if our world is overdoing it, overgiving, resentful, manipulative, and then blows up what seems like arbitrarily, and they're scary and unpredictable, as you say, what are we shaping there? So, it's not just you having a bad day as a parent. That bad day ripples with each child in the household, and then with your relationship with your partner as well, and extended family as well, I would say. So yeah. Um, as a counselor, Julie, how do you do this when you see something like that going on with the ripples?
What's unfortunate is a lot of times the person who's creating all the ripples, uh, I can't start there usually, right?
Yeah, right.
Because
Hmm.
they don't want to hear that. They
Yeah.
can tell me all of the reasons why they're justified in reacting that way.
Hmm.
So it isn't a quick 1 hour conversation
Yeah,
usually. It's
yeah.
usually a
It's
buildup and
work.
talking about
Yeah.
how people aren't mind readers. It's about communication that's where we start
Hmm.
communication and boundaries.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because if you have good, healthy boundaries, you know that you are not capable of doing everything for everybody all
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
Um, and so I like to use those concepts, boundaries,
Mhm.
communication, because it's
Yeah.
about these are skills we can all improve on, not this is where you're broken,
Hmm.
or this
Right.
is why you're blowing up at your kid
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
your kid deserves it. No,
Hmm.
they don't.
Hmm.
Never.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean that we don't occasionally lose our temper
Right.
and that we don't have a bad day where maybe we yell or say something mean.
Yeah.
But we have communication and boundaries and rules and structure so we can make it better, or at least ask for forgiveness and move
Mm.
forward.
Yeah. So those 4 points that I started with is parenting doesn't come with a manual. Knowing your Enneagram type is your manual, and then knowing what in your type presses your buttons. And then now that brings us to the fourth thing beautifully, actually. It's what I call what empowers you as a parent. And that's that security line. Um, which for the two is the four, which is it's called the romantic, it's called the idealistic person, various names that we have on it, the authentic person. Um, I think that's basically what you described is bringing that person who is legitimately tired, legitimately resentful,
Mhm.
legitimately angry, doesn't mean that expressing all of that is the healthy way to parent. The feelings are valid, right? What we do with them is a whole other ball of wax. So that's where knowing your Enneagram, your instruction manual, step back and say, oh man, I'm off the rails. I know I'm off the rails, but I've had it. And where else do I have access to change it? And that 4, and I'm thinking of that little child who's now been manipulated and reamed out for something that they don't even know what they did wrong because mom or dad has always done these things for me. And I'm just a kid and I'm just doing what kids do every day. And mom or dad's always doing what they've always done every day. And all of a sudden, this other thing just happened and I'm bad. And I don't know how to fix that, right? So you as
Mhm.
parent take 2, 10, 20 steps back and go to your 4, which allows you, first of all, 4s are deep connectors. Um, 2s are all about relationship and connection too. They love to, they love to be bonded with you, but 4s are about relationships and the deep. Um, feelings do not scare 4s. The difficult feelings that scare the crap out of everybody else, 4s do those. And I think taking your time out, sitting down with your child and tell me you're the counselor here, so just put me on the path if I veer off. But um, getting deep with your kid and deep and the other word with 4 is authentic and authenticity. Being authentic about yourself and saying, you know what, I really just screwed that up. I really screwed that up. And I'm sorry. And here's why it happened. And I'm not justifying it. But I know this about myself. It's my weak spot. And I should have never said or done what I just said and did.
Mhm.
I think
That's
that's,
awesome.
yeah.
I think the other thing that's important to remember, especially for a 2 who does,
Mhm.
right? And then says, but nobody thanked me.
Mm.
You have to teach your children to thank you. You
And
have to
others,
teach your
and
children to
others.
be grateful,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Because they are not born knowing that.
Beautiful. Yeah.
And so if
Yeah.
you never model or teach your
Yeah.
child how to be grateful,
Yeah.
they're not going to do it to you.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
they know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then they go out in the world and keep repeating it. Probably marry it
Mhm.
too and keep repeating it again. Because
Here we go
we repeat what
again.
worked.
Or we just keep looking for people like that in
Yeah.
hopes that this time we'll get it right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It feels
Familiar.
familiar.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, yeah, I think if you're a 2 and you're parenting or you're getting ready to parent, well, if you're not a parent yet, start exercising this muscle now. No matter where you are in life, start exercising this muscle now. Because,
Yes, indeed.
we need those beautiful qualities in all 9 types, right?
Mhm,
But good, healthy 2 energy, 2s that can give, um, while also valuing themselves and not just expecting other people to value them and getting your value from somebody else valuing you.
mhm.
You have to
And
have your
are
own
able to
value.
receive
Yeah, yeah.
help.
Ask for help and receive help and love and be loved. And value yourself enough to know that you're loved. You know, I think that's something all 9 types, need in their own
Mhm.
way. Um, but yeah. Um, so the other thing I want to mention with the low 2 is the pride is the low 2. So feeling that you're the only important one in the dynamic. Um, you're the only one who can take the child to soccer practice or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, that's unhealthy. I mean, if you're able to do that, if that's, but if you are being sacrificed in something and someone else can do something, recognize your pride, that you are
Mhm.
not the only one. Again, you're not ice cream, you can't make everybody happy. Kind of, you're not the only one who can do certain jobs. And that will offset some things for the two. Um,
If you look at it from a point from parenting, but what you're teaching your child,
mhm.
if you're the only one who can do anything for your child, that's not a good lesson for your kid to have.
No, it's terrible.
That's
Yeah,
not a good way for them to grow up.
it's going to steal their independence.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. It's going to make them fearful, insecure. I would say insecure can lead to them being fearful. Um, Infants. I want to mention that because that's more along the lines of what I see out of the clinic, and women that do get pregnant and then they have their infant, and um waking up to how hard that whole dynamic is, and no new mom is sleeping.
Uh-huh. I
So,
have two words for that:
yeah.
disillusioned and disappointed.
Oh,
I was jotting that down before when we were talking.
yeah.
Um, like, own it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we as a society, as women, we don't do a good enough job saying this is going to be hard. There are
Mm.
days when you're going to feel exhausted and unattractive and like you don't want to
Incapable.
be kind, and you're
Yeah.
going to feel like all anyone does is take from me,
Mm. Mm.
which is exactly what a two doesn't need, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
again, figuring out those boundaries, planning ahead, be realistic, talk to
Yeah.
women who will be honest with you and say, yep, some days it sucks.
That's the
Yep.
four. That's the four. Go to
Hmm.
the deep dark with other women who have been there or are there. Yeah. Find your
And
community.
will be honest with you.
Hmm.
Not the ones who are like,
Authentic.
I just love babies
Yeah,
and I could
mom.
have
Yeah.
400 of them. Like, I don't know who really does love that
Yeah.
over and over again
Yeah.
because it is exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless you have, all kinds of people helping you.
Hmm.
Maybe then
Yeah.
it's wonderful. But
Yeah.
you're hormonal, you're
Yeah.
exhausted, right?
Mhm.
Like the reality is, it isn't like the movies and the cards, and everybody says how wonderful when it's all
And it
done.
is,
It
yeah, it
is.
is, but the
But
day-to-day
there are
nitty-gritty,
moments
it's hard stuff.
it doesn't feel like sunshine.
No. And it's there's no way to prepare
Right.
for every spontaneous thing that's going to happen. And we've talked about this before. In Chinese medicine, we talk about the energetics of pregnancy and being a new mom and having an infant, right? It's going to sound terrible, but talking about energetics, this is just energetics. We view the baby, the fetus, the growing fetus, as a parasite because that fetus is living off of mom's body, energetically getting all their energy from mom, right? You have the baby, you're breastfeeding the baby is still living off of you. Your energy, your energy is creating fluids to create breast milk to feed that baby. Still this it's a drain, it's an energetic drain physiologically. That's all I'm saying. Plus, you're not sleeping. Plus, if you're a new parent, you don't really know how to do this unless you've raised a young sibling or, but it's so you've got that overwhelm. You've got the perfection trap. If you're a two with a one wing, that's a whole other potential nightmare. Um, so yeah, so finding your community that is going to go to the floor conversations with you.
Mhm.
Um, those authentic, no unicorns and rainbows, just the real stuff, the women that are
Mhm.
going to talk to you. wherever you find that tribe. It might be within your family, might be, sisters, mother, neighbors, friends. Find it and let your two go to your four with those people, and
Mhm.
be authentic with them and have them be authentic with you. That would be so healing for a two.
Mhm.
Um, and using that ability to deeply feel like really enjoying your bonding time with your baby, and to hell with what the kitchen looks like, or to
Amen.
hell with how high the laundry pile is. Be a deep feeling four,
Mhm.
and just, that baby's not always going to be a baby. And you're going to
It's
blink.
true.
Yeah, you're going to blink and they're going
Uh,
to be on their own. So, so be present. Yeah,
Look back and say, that was a bummer that one week when we didn't have any clean clothes to wear,
yeah.
instead of looking back going, remember all those weeks I screamed and yelled?
Yeah, and when you get to that toddler stage and a little older than that, and you're back to, well, I could do the laundry, or you're not going to remember the days that you did the damn laundry,
That's right.
So,
Uh-huh.
instead, again, bonding, connecting, being present. Um, so yeah, so I think I'd like to end on that, and also ask you, people out there who are watching, who lead with two, I should say, or four, or if you're two that has a really strong developed four line, drop a comment, let us know how you parented, using, either experience, the low experiences, but share the high ones, because those are the ones that people really could benefit from. And, I don't lead with two, Julie doesn't lead with two. I do this work, but, the beauty of it, and that's why I trained in the narrative, is to be able to get that learning not out of a book, but out of discussions from people who led with each individual, type. Um, so yeah, so share your experiences with us. Let us know what it's like to
Hmm.
parent as a two who can get to your four. How do you do it? How do you get out of your two that's going into an eight? How do you check that? So yeah, please drop a comment. And next time we'll continue on with the heart types. Um, and if you want to work with, Julie does online and in-person, counseling work. She can be found at windhorsecounseling.com. I can be found at mariamandarino.com. I do the Enneagram work online. I also do integrate it with, natal charts and astrology. I don't do predictions, but I do look at the natal chart and how it may overlap with your Enneagram. Here in person in, the West Valley of Phoenix, I do acupuncture. I also do Bach flower consultations. Those are also online. And I think that, oh, spiritual direction, but that's usually with the Enneagram. So that's also done online. So if you're interested in any of that work, all that information will be in the show notes. And thank you for being here. Julie, thank you for being here with me. And we
Thank you,
will,
Maria.
thank you. And we'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.